Benchmarking is a process where you measure your company's success against other similar companies to discover if there is a gap in performance that can be closed by improving your performance. Studying other companies can highlight what it takes to enhance your company's efficiency and become a bigger player in your industry. Ang benchmarking daw ay isa sa paraan na maaaring gamitin ng isang kumpanya para magkaroon sila ng advantage mula pa sa iba pa nilang kakompetensya sa industriya na ginagalawan nila. Ito ay isang proseso sa pamamagitan ng sistematikong paraan ng mga superior na produkto, serbisyo, proseso at kasanayan na maaaring gamitin sa isang organisasyon to reduce their cost, decrease operation cycle time, and provide greater customer satisfaction. According to Sarah Cook, benchmarking is a process of identifying, understanding, and adapting outstanding practices from within the same organization or from other businesses to help improve performance. Features of benchmarking. Number 1 is benchmarking is based on the theme, see what others do, and try to improve upon that. Therefore, this implies some kind of measurement which can be accomplished in two forms, internal and external. Both internal and external practices are compared, and a statement of significant differences is prepared to identify the gap which should be filled. Kasi kapag nalaman mo na kung saan mahina yung company mo, susunod mo na malalaman kung anong dapat i-improve, maybe the strengths and weaknesses of your company or the opportunities and threats outside your company. Kasi by doing this, hindi lang nasisave yung effort and time ng company mo. Nagkakaroon ka pa ng idea kung saan pa dapat mag-improve yung company. Kasi when doing this, it allows businesses to gain advantages over competitors and grow industry averages. Number 2, benchmarking can be applied to all facets of a business. It includes products, services, processes, and methods. It goes beyond the traditional competitor analysis in the form of identifying strengths and weaknesses, and includes clear understanding of how the best practices are used. Maaari itong gamitin to establish the function or mission of an organization. It can also be used to examine existing practices while looking at the organization as a whole to identify practices that support major processes or critical objectives. Number 3, benchmarking is not aimed solely at direct product competitors, but those organizations and businesses that are recognized as best or industry leaders. Kumbaga, hindi lang sila tumitingin sa mismong kalaban nila. Ginagawa din nilang aware yung company nila sa labas pa ng industriyang ginagalawan nila. Kasi there are chances na sa labas ng industriya na iyon, marami pa silang maaaring ma-discover bukod sa kung ano ang ginagawa ng kakompetensya nila. The next topic is types of benchmarking, which will be discussed by Ms. Contawi.
Types of benchmarking. There are various types of benchmarking. Since benchmarking is an evolutionary process in an organization, its application varies over time, resulting in different types of benchmarking, as shown at each subsequent stage. The complexity and sophistication increase as the emulation of practices becomes increasingly difficult. How do you know if your product is performing well or poorly? You could compare it to previous results. Alternatively, you could compare your product's key metrics to those of your closest market competitors. This is known as product benchmarking, and it is an important task in gaining valuable information about the quality or performance of your product. To simply put, product benchmarking is the process of comparing your products to those of your competitors to determine where your product ranks in terms of consumer preference, as in different circles of examination. Percentiles are frequently used to portray how well or how ineffectively your items is acting, specifically KPIs comparative with results of comparable size and vertical. There are numerous different products attributes that you may wish to secure benchmarks for. including but not limited to sensory factors such as taste profiles, packagings, branding, and overall customer acceptance. Competitive benchmarking. Competitive benchmarking is a method of researching competitors and industry leaders for strategies, practices, and services that can be used to establish performance comparisons and benchmarks. It entails examining competitors' products, services, and process and comparing it to their own. It requires that the company perform a detailed analysis of its competitors' products, services, and process. One of the advantages of it is that you can not only get an organized overview of your company and how it performs on various levels, but you can also stay competitive. Competitive benchmarking can be tailored to your company and its departments, and it can be broad or granular as you like. There is no set method. It all boils down to your goals and what areas are most important to you. Process benchmarking. Many organizations have begun to use process benchmarking because the framework fits well into an operational approach to performance improvement. Process benchmarking focuses on specific production processes within a company rather than the entire organization. The analysis assumes that by identifying best practice processes and comparing actual processes used by firms, managers can improve the performance of subsystems, leading to better overall performance. The goal of the process benchmarking is to improve different stages of the production process and to increase efficiency by learning from others. Sharing experiences is crucial for the success of the technique. Process benchmarking involves the comparison of one's own utility with other similar utilities with the purpose of self-improvement through adapting structures or methods that can happen to be successful elsewhere. It allows a firm to find out how others do business, whether they are more efficient or not, and if so, whether the firm can understand and use those methods to its own advantage. Strategic benchmarking. Analysis of a successful group within a company can help provide a framework for developing new strategies for a less successful group. Strategic benchmarking is similar in nature to process benchmarking but differs in scope and depth. It is a systematic process through which a company seeks to improve its overall performance by examining a long-term strategies. A study of elements such as core competencies, process capability, strategic intent, and alliances is part of the practice. It is primarily an assessment of how the company manage external changes such as competitors, the industry, and the market as a whole. The ultimate goal is to develop the best strategy for increasing organizational performance. This includes learning about organizational strategies in order to improve on them. Overall, strategic benchmarking is the process of deciding upon best practices as they relate to the strategies for reaching organizational goals. Global benchmarking. The fifth generation of benchmarking is referred to as global benchmarking. Lies in global application where international trade, cultural, and business process distinctions among companies are bridged and their implications for business process improvement are understood and utilized. Globalization and advances in information technology leads to use this type of benchmarking. As the name implies, the comparison is made between corporations from distinct countries operating in the same or a different industry. Because the scale of comparison varies by country, this comparison assists the organization in achieving the global benchmark and improving itself in terms of standards of many different organizations.
Good day, sir, and good day, classmate. I am the next reporter, Janrick David, and I will be assigned to discuss Kinsey'S 7'S framework. The Kinsey'S 7'S model is a framework for organizational effectiveness that postulates that there are 7 internal factors of an organization that need to be aligned and reinforced in order for it to be successful. The Kinsey'S 7'S framework allows organizations to analyze their strengths and weaknesses. With this analysis, they can identify areas which need improvement. Also, it helps to measure their strength weaknesses compared to those of their competitor. The first S is strategy. This is your organization's plan for building and maintaining a competitive advantage over its competitors. The strategy is the plan deployed by an organization in order to remain competitive in its industry and market. An ideal approach is to establish a long-term strategy that aligns with the other elements of the model and clearly communicates what the organization's objective and goals are. The second one is structure. This is how your company is organized, or how departments and teams are structured, including who reports to whom. The structure of the organization is made up of its corporate hierarchy, the chain of commands, and divisional makeup that outlines how the operations function and interconnect. In effect, it details the management configuration and responsibilities of workers. Third, systems. The daily activities that procedures that staff use to get the job done. System of the company refers to the daily procedures, workflow, and decisions that make up the standard operations within the organization. Number 4. Shared values. These are the core values of the organization and reflect its general work ethic. They were called superordinate goals when the model was first developed. Shared values are the commonly accepted standards and norms within the company that both influence and temper the behavior of the entire staff and the management. These may be detailed in company guidelines presented to the staff. In practice, shared values relate to the actual accepted behavior within the workplace. The fifth S is skills. The actual skills and competencies of the organization's employees. Skills comprise the talents and capabilities of the organization's staff and management, which can determine the type of achievements and work the company can accomplish. They may come a time when a company assesses its available skills and decides it must make change in order to achieve the goals set forth in its strategy. The sixth S. Style. The style of leadership adopted. Style speaks to the example and approach that management takes in leading the company, as well as how this influences performance, productivity, and corporate culture. The last S is staff. The employees and their general capabilities. Staff refers to the personnel of the company, how large the workforce is, where their motivation resides, as well as how they are trained and prepared to accomplish the tasks set before them. The Kinsey'S 7'S model is applicable in a wide variety of situations where it's useful to understand how the various parts of an organization work together. It can be used as a tool to make decisions on future corporate strategy. The framework can also be used to examine the likely effect of future changes in the organization or to align departments and processes during a merger or acquisition. Elements of the McKinsey model 7'S can also be used within individual teams or projects. Critical success factor approach. Critical success factor approach are highly level goals that your organization must meet in order to achieve your strategic objectives. You can implement CSFs at the project, program, or organizational level, though they are most frequently used by entire departments or organizations because of their close connection to an organization's business strategy. Hitting your critical success factors usually result in meaningful value and positive income for your organization. Notably, CFFs are highly level strategic goals. They don't necessarily include execution details. For example, imagine you set a critical success factor to increase brand awareness. This is a low-fee goal and one of that drives significant value and market share for your organization. The critical success factor approach is a technique that will aid health administrators, planners, and managers to identify, specify, and sort among the most relevant and critical factors determining an organization's survival and success.
Concept of critical success factors. Critical success factors, also referred to as strategic factors or key factors for success. Those are characteristics, conditions, or variables which, when maintained and sustained, can have significant impact on the success of an organization competing in a particular industry. A CFS may be a characteristic such as product features, a condition such as high capital investment, or any other variable. A basic nature of CSFs is that they differ from industry to industry, consumer goods versus industrial goods, differentiated versus undifferentiated industries, local versus global industries, and so on. We have here the critical success factors in different industries from the sake of clarifications. First off is toothpaste industry. We have quality in terms of form, flavor, foam, and freshness, wide area distribution network, high level of promotion, and brand loyalty. It may not be a glamorous product, but toothpaste is an essential product consumers cannot do without. For more established brands, selling toothpaste product is relatively straightforward. However, if you wish to launch a new toothpaste into a market or increase sales of a relatively new product, you must undertake some rigorous but strategic marketing. Second, for food processing industries, we have high quality product, packaging, efficient distribution network, and sales promotion. Food processing is the transformation of agricultural products into food or of one form of food into other forms. Food processing includes many forms of processing foods, from grinding grain to make raw flour, to home cooking, to complex industrial methods used to make convenience foods. Next is for shoe industry. Of course, we have high quality, cost efficiency, sophisticated retailing, flexible product mix, and creation of product image. Fourth, automobile industry. We have styling, strong dealer network, manufacturing cost control, and ability to meet environmental standards. Last but not the least is for courier services. Of course, it should have a speedy dispatch, reliable, and reasonable price. Key success factors are aspects of an organization's processes that are critical to determining its success in its industry. These factors are combinations of areas organizations improve to meet clients' needs and stay ahead from their competition. An organization's key success factors comprise its essential business processes, including leadership, labor, operations, marketing, and finances. By understanding key success factors, you can easily determine the success of an organization in an industry. Identifying industry CSFs. In order to generate competitive advantage along CFS, it is necessary to identify this. Based on a study related to identifying strategic factors which are important to different businesses, Steiner views that there are indeed strategic factors needed for a business and they can be identified. However, the question is, if CSFs differ from industry to industry, how can this be identified? In order to find out the answer of these questions, managers can put another question on what we need to do in order to be successful in a particular business. It is just an individual putting a question. What does he or she needs to do to be successful in studies, in career, etc.? However, the answer of the question what needs to be done for success in a business is not as simple as it prima facie appears. Therefore, managers need to generate as much information as possible by going through following ways. First is CSFs can be identified based on logic, heuristics, or even a rule of thumb rather than through any theoretical model. These are based on long years of managerial experience which leads to the development of intuition, judgment, and hunch. Second is CFS can also be identified internally in the organization by using creative techniques like brainstormings. Third is CFS can be deduced from other companies' statements, expert opinions, organizational success stories, and etc.
Good day, sir and classmates. I am Mia Barshal, and I was assigned to discuss to all of you the CSF approach and organization critical success factors. Critical success factors approach can be used in a number of ways to generate competitive advantage. Rock Art has identified 3 steps in using critical success factors approach. Generate the critical success factors, refine CSFs into objectives, and identify measures of performance. While the first step is related to identification of CSFs, other 2 are related to using these CSFs. A company can generate competitive advantage based on CSFs in the following ways. First, the company can identify key result areas based on CSFs. A key result area is an aspect of an organization or its unit that must function effectively for the entire organization to succeed. If a key result area has been defined in terms of CSFs, its focus is more relevant. A key result area may be any type. For example, after-sales service in automobile or equipment industry. Second, the company can allocate its resources, both physical and human, based on CSFs. For example, in a fast-moving consumer goods, there are 2 critical success factors. First is the product innovation, meaning the development and launch of a new product or service that directly affects the market it sells in. It can also develop improved version of existing products in a market, enhancing the functionality or desire for an item by taking consumer feedback to make improvements or discovering additional features and technology to add. Most often, product innovation is achieving an improvement on existing products, though creating a true invention also happens. And second is the efficient distribution system. It involves the delivery of material right from manufacturing to distributors to the end customers. It consists of all the methods, procedure, equipment required for the flow of goods from a business to end user of a product. A distribution system is an essential part of a business. The success of a business largely depends on its distribution system. Third, a company can generate new CSFs as these are not static but dynamic. Thus, the new CSF may be more important than the existing ones. This is based on the maxim of doing things differently. For example, when Reliance entered textile fabrics, it introduced the concept of branding, which was not a critical concept in textile at that time. To promote its brand, it went for huge advertising. With the result, Reliance became number 1 in textile business very soon. Based on critical success factors, a company can differentiate itself from others by doing the same thing differently or by doing different things. However, CSF approach is not free from its limitation, which are in 2 forms. First, existing. or potential competitors can emulate the strategy through benchmarking and other tools, and the company cannot remain as competitive as it used to be. Second, if one company can generate a new CSF, others can also do. In this case also, the company may not remain highly competitive. Thus, allocating huge resources based on CSFs runs a risk. However, the risk is a prime element of any strategy. It does not mean that CSF approach is not meaningful because of its limitation. In fact, it has. What an organization needs to do is that it takes continuous realigning of CSFs into its operations. Next is the organizational critical success factors. The above discussion of CSFs is externally focused in the sense that it concentrates on what an organization should do to be successful in a particular industry. Researchers, both academics and consultants, have made attempts to find out the answer to the question. What are the characteristics of an organization which make it successful in different industry or meeting the requirements of CSFs of these industries? Though the answer to this question is not precise because of interplay of different variables in determining success of an organization, some clues can be derived from various prescription and research studies. Here are the 5 key sources of critical success factor. First is the environmental factors. Environmental factors refer to things that are happening outside the organization over which the company has no direct control. For example, the economy, public policy, competitors' action, and new technologies are all elements that fall under this category. A company must stay informed, anticipate changes, and stay ahead of the curve by recognizing environmental factors that might affect its ability to accomplish its mission. By labeling and being aware of them, organizations can be mindful of these factors and monitor their performance relative to them. Second is the industry-related factors. Each organization must fulfill specific tasks that are crucial to remaining competitive in their respective industries. These tasks must be identified by closely monitoring factors influencing the industry. While a restaurant may focus on better packaging to reduce costs, an airline may focus on service time. Next is the peer-related factors. An industry leader will focus on critical success factors in strategic management to increase brand loyalty that will help them maintain their market position. A small player will have to focus on CSF that improves their overall competitive position. Organizational action can be heavily influenced by peer positioning. For example, providing unmatched customer service. And then the temporal factors. Most critical success factors are tied to an organization's long-term or permanent strategic goals. However, sometimes companies face temporary situations that, while important, only need to be managed for a limited time period. The CSF related to these situations are categorized as temporal factors. An example of the adoption of this type of critical success factor is the effect of COVID-19 had on a small brick and mortar businesses. These businesses had to quickly increase the number of online orders and ramp up shipping and delivery processes. This focus and the related changes may be temporary or may evolve into long-term solutions. And last, the management position factors. There are certain critical success factors in project management that must be identified by managers internally. Managers use their perspectives and experiences for employee engagement, culture change, and continuous engagement. Managers must be aware of all 5 critical success factors to know the actions tied with their roles. For example, operational managers may have critical success factors that address production and cost control. Meanwhile, higher-level executives would be more focused on risk management and exposure. And Ms. Nanette will continue the report.
Good day everyone, I am Nanette Cheson and I will discuss the 8 key attributes that organization must possess in order for them to achieve excellence that Peter and Waterman identified. The first characteristic is a bias for action. Excellent companies favored methods that encourage a rapid and appropriate response to problems and issues. One of the methods described by Peters and Waterman is what they term chunking. Problems are broken down into manageable chunks and then solved by small work groups brought together for that purpose. This facilitates organizational fluidity and encourages action as well as developing a sense of understanding and ownership. The second is close to the customers, that excellent companies really get close to their customers and encourage them to help improve the product, quality, reliability, and services. Third is autonomy and entrepreneurship. Peters and Waterman perceive this to be most important element of a successful companies. They suggest that it is vital to encourage the entrepreneurial spirit among staff and to encourage staff to develop positive attitudes through a championing system consisting of the product champion, the successful executing champion, and the godfather. The product champion is someone who strongly believes in a product, while the successful executing champion is someone who has been through the process of championing the product before, and the godfather is an experienced leader who provides the role model for champions. In some companies, product champions are allocated responsibility for new teams that operate like small independent business and are rewarded on the result they achieve. Good no-holds-barred communication is seen to be vital and is characterized by informality and visible support, including physical and material support, and is informal, spontaneous, and intense. This system acts as a control system and enables staff to keep abreast of developments. Senior management is more tolerant of failure in this system in order to encourage successful innovation. Fourth is productivity through people. That excellence companies treat their workers with respect and dignity and see them as partners. Slogans such as respect that individual make people winners, let them stand out, treat people as adults, indicate the culture that is required and the closeness and family feeling that must be encouraged. Fifth is hands-on value-driven, that companies must be clear about value systems, what they stand for, and how they can shape and sustain these values among the workforce. Senior managers must accept responsibility for implanting and cultivating these values and must lead from the front. They must carry these values from their offices to the shop floor and inspire the workforce towards the desired goal. 6 is stick to the knitting, that acquisition and diversification for its own sake are one of the characteristics of excellent companies. They stick to their knitting by doing what they know best, and when they diversify, they do so in an experimental fashion. As a rule, they move on mainly through internally generated diversification, one manageable step at a time. 7 is simple form, lean staff. This principle promotes a simple structure with small units, typically in the form of the product division. The use of groups and teams to deal with specific projects leaves with the basic structure in place and provides greater flexibility. Lastly, simultaneous loose tight control. This notion promotes the idea that excellent companies manage to control things tightly while at the same time allowing and encouraging individual innovation, autonomy, and entrepreneurship. Company culture is the key to achieving these properties. Staff are encouraged to share the same values and beliefs. Individual members of staff know they have the freedom and the courage to innovate and experiment. They also know that their action will be judged with a particular attention paid to the impact they have on product quality, targets, and above all the customer. The ultimate goal is to be the best company. Peters and Waterman maintain that the main attributes of excellent companies are flat anti-hierarchical structures, innovation and entrepreneurship, small numbers of corporate, and a middle management. Staff reward system based on a contribution rather than positive or length of service, brain power rather than muscle power, and strong flexible cultures. Peters and Waterman's vision has been extremely influential in highlighting the importance of culture and organizational structure in quality organizations, and the attributes listed above remain the goal of many forward-thinking organizations today.
Let's move on to the last topic, which is critical success factor of Infosys. Infosys Technologies Limited is engaged in development of application software, mostly for business. Software development is highly knowledgeable-based industry in which quality of human resource is a key determinant of competitive advantage. Infosys derives most of its revenues from overseas operations. In order for them to achieving excellence, it has concentrated on 5 key elements, which are leadership, human resources, strategy, organizational culture, and organization structure. The first element is leadership. Infosys believes that leadership is one of the most essential ingredients of organizational success, which is provided by its chairman N.R. Narayan Murthy. Leadership is based on high business vision and predominantly supportive style. There is emphasis on developing leadership qualities among employees throughout the organization so that there is no rule vacuum. Top management emphasizes on open door policies, continuous sharing of information, takes inputs from employees in decision making, and builds personal rapport with employees. The second element is human resource. Since Infosys is in knowledge-based industry, it focuses on the quality of the human resources. Out of their total personnel, 90% are computer professionals. At the entry level, it emphasizes on selecting candidates who find companies' middle-class culture satisfying, superior academic records, technical skills, and high level of learnability. The company emphasizes on training and development of its employee on continuous basis and spend about 2.65% of its revenue on upgradation of employee skills. In an era when personnel turnover is very high in IT industry, Infosys has offered stock option to every employee with the result that not only personnel turnover is negligible but employees are highly motivated to work. Third element is strategy. Infosys has adopted a client-focused strategy to achieve growth, rather than focusing on numerous small organizations. It focuses on limited number of large organizations throughout world. In order to cater its clients, the company emphasizes on custom-built softwares. The fourth element is organizational culture. Organizational culture is one of the strongest features of Infosys. It emphasizes on high ethical values in all operations, equality among all personnel irrespective of their organizational positions, encouragement of high performance standards set by the personnel themselves, and sharing of outcomes of performance by all. The company has set a culture in which no stakeholder aspires to take more than what it contributes. Work culture is quite friendly and emphasis is placed on teamwork. The last element is organization structure. The company has adopted a free-form organization devoid of hierarchies. Everyone is known as associate irrespective of his position in the company. Software development is undertaken through teams and the constitution of teams is based on the principle of flexibility. A member who might have been team leader in one project may be replaced by another member of the same team for another project. This system not only helps in creating the feeling of equality but also helps in developing project leaders.